Suddenly, Earth is attacked by a terrifying group of aliens, but humanity is not able to fight them off in any way. After many failed attempts, humans create a special suit that helps them face the aliens. At this point, a US major starts traveling back in time every time he goes to battle. He keeps dying again and again, but each time he learns more about how to kill the aliens. Finally, something happens to him that will absolutely blow your mind. I'm talking about one of my favorite movies, Edge of Tomorrow. So let's not waste any more time and dive into today's movie explanation. At the beginning of the movie, we learn that an asteroid full of aliens has fallen on Earth. These aliens are called mimics by humans. The mimics are extremely powerful and were spreading all over the world to completely wipe out mankind. Wherever they went, they destroyed everything, and no country's army was able to defeat them. For this reason, all the armies of the world united to fight the aliens. Together, they built a powerful suit named Angel of Verdun. Using this suit, soldiers were already able to defeat aliens in one area. As a result, to completely eliminate the mimics from Earth, the armies of all nations selected their best soldiers to form one combined force. The commander of this army was a woman named Rita. During the earlier victory against the mimics, Rita fought with great courage and killed many of them. Because of this, she is highly respected by armies around the world and seen as an idol. So, all soldiers in Rita's team were trained to use the suit, and they prepared for a massive attack against the mimics called Operation Downfall. Meanwhile, we see Major Cage, who goes to meet Colonel Brigham, the one who planned and was in charge of the operation. When asked why Cage was summoned, the Major replies, "Tomorrow, we are launching a major attack on the mimics, and many soldiers will die. Since the plan is mine, all responsibility will fall on me. So I want you to go to the battlefield and present everything about the mission to the world, so that no accusations fall on me." In reality, Cage's job was to represent the military in the media. He was the one who revealed the suit to the public, which made him a celebrity that people trusted. But hearing this request, Cage is completely shocked and directly refuses to join the mission. The reason is, Cage has never been trained to fight on the battlefield. But the colonel doesn't listen, and when he insists, Cage argues, "I am a major. You cannot order me. And if you force me into this mission, it won't take me long to ruin your reputation." After this, the colonel says nothing, but as Cage tries to leave, soldiers stun him unconscious on the colonel's command. When Cage regains consciousness, he finds himself in a military camp where soldiers are being trained for Operation Downfall. An officer comes to meet him and tells him to get ready because tomorrow he will be going on the mission. Hearing this, Cage protests, "I am a major. Stop giving me orders and bring me a phone so I can speak with my superiors." But the officer replies, "Since tomorrow we leave for the mission, communication jammers are already active. But I have a letter here. It says that this man will claim to be a major and give many excuses to avoid the mission. But none of his words are to be trusted, and he must be forced to participate." Since the officer was from another country, he didn't know Cage personally, so he believed the letter and assumed Cage was lying. Cage is stunned and realizes he has been framed. The officer then introduces him to his squad, telling them, "This man's name is Cage. He claims to be a major. But the funny thing is, he says he is afraid of the mission because he doesn't even know how to fight. I don't know why he was recruited, but we have orders to make sure he doesn't escape. However, if he tries to run, you have my permission to do whatever you want with him." Cage tries to explain again, but the officer ignores him and orders him to prepare for tomorrow's battle. The next morning, Cage and the other soldiers put on the suits. The strange part is, Cage doesn't know how to operate it. When he asks someone for help, they think he's joking. They assume Cage knows perfectly well how to use the suit, but is pretending out of fear. So one soldier says, "When you go to battle, you'll figure it out yourself." Then they all head to the battlefield in helicopters. Just as they are about to land, a mimic attacks the aircraft, forcing them to jump. Many soldiers die in the fall, and the survivors scatter. Around Cage, soldiers are dying everywhere. It becomes clear that the mimics already knew about the human surprise attack and instead ambushed them first. As Cage moves forward, he sees Rita fighting a mimic. After she kills it and approaches Cage, another mimic attacks her, and Rita is killed. Horrified, Cage runs, but cannot escape for long. A mimic attacks him, but Cage manages to blow it up with a bomb, killing it. This is the first time Cage kills a mimic, and he feels proud. But his happiness doesn't last, because a much larger blue mimic appears. Unlike the smaller orange mimics, this one is called an alpha, which controls the others. The alpha attacks Cage, but just before dying, Cage detonates a bomb beside him, killing them both. Then, something strange happens. The alpha's blood spills onto Cage, entering his body. Suddenly, Cage wakes up again at the military camp, the same place where he first regained consciousness. He assumes it was all a dream, but when the officer arrives and treats him exactly the same way as before, Cage realizes the events are repeating. He is confused, but when he goes to battle again, everything happens exactly as before. Each time he dies, he wakes up back at the camp. Now, Cage understands that he is trapped in a time loop. When the officer comes again, Cage tries to explain everything and gives examples of events he couldn't possibly know otherwise. But the officer still doesn't believe him, thinking it's just an excuse. Cage warns them that they are heading into a trap, but nobody listens, so he is once again forced into battle. This time, Cage saves many soldiers who had died in previous loops. As he keeps reliving the day, Cage gradually learns how to use the suit. When he sees Rita again, he decides to save her, since she always dies in that battle. But every time he tries, Cage dies instead. After many failed attempts, he finally manages to save her once. Seeing his precise moves, Rita realizes Cage somehow knew exactly when and where mimics would attack. When Cage explains the time loop for the first time, someone actually believes him. But soon, the swarm of mimics overwhelms them, and both die again. Before dying, Rita tells Cage, "When you wake up again, come find me first." The next time Cage wakes up, he secretly seeks out Rita. At first, she doesn't recognize him, because they had never met before the loop. But when Cage tells her about his ability to reset the day, Rita takes him to a scientist who has studied the mimics. Rita believes him because she herself once had the same ability. The scientist explains, the alpha mimics are extremely rare. For every 700,000 normal mimics, only one alpha is born. All mimics are controlled by a central brain called the omega, which has the power to manipulate time. Normally, when an alpha dies, omega receives a signal and immediately resets the day to prevent the alpha's death. But since alpha blood mixed with Cage's body, omega now mistakes him for an alpha. That is why every time Cage dies, omega resets time, unknowingly reviving him. So now you understand exactly why this time loop exists. Anyway, after hearing all this, Cage is extremely shocked. Then Cage asks, "How do you know so much about these things?" Rita replies that a few years ago, when they had recaptured an area from the mimics, she had killed an alpha there, just like Cage, and its blood had entered her body. Because of that, she too used to time travel over and over again, just like him. But at present, she no longer has that ability. The reason is, after that battle, she was severely injured, and since she lost a lot of blood, doctors gave her multiple blood transfusions. When the new blood entered her body, the alpha's blood inside her was completely replaced. And from that moment on, she was no longer able to return to the time loop. Rita continues, "That's why, whenever you receive a blood transfusion, you will lose this ability too. So if you are ever mortally wounded, you must kill yourself before they treat you. That way, you will wake up again in the time loop and return to the battlefield. The more times you go through this loop, the more new things we can learn, and ultimately, we will win this war." Hearing this, Cage asks, "But what mission are we actually talking about?" Rita answers, "Whoever has Alpha's blood sometimes sees the Omega's location in their dreams. So when you see that location, I want you to take me there. Together, we will kill the Omega. Since Omega controls all the mimics, once it is destroyed, every mimic will die as well." Listening to this, Cage says, "But I don't even know how to fight. How can I possibly kill the Omega?" Rita tells him, "From now on, you must prepare yourself for war. You must learn how to fight these terrifying mimics and survive." Hearing this, Cage begins his intense training. He starts practicing how to fight properly. One day, during training, Cage is fatally injured. At that moment, Rita kills him so that he will time travel again and return to life. Now, a question arises. How did the mimics know in advance about Operation Downfall? In reality, when Rita's army had first defeated mimics in one area, it was Omega who deliberately allowed humans to win. The reason was to give mankind false confidence, so they would plan a massive attack to wipe out the mimics completely. But in truth, this was a trap set by the mimics to destroy humanity itself. Meanwhile, we see Cage, whose fighting skills have now become much more advanced. As time passes, one day Cage finally sees the dream, revealing the Omega's location. The Omega is inside a dam. Cage sees clearly that Omega is positioned deep within the dam. That very day, when he tells Rita, they begin trying to reach Omega's location. But they keep failing, because there are too many mimics on the battlefield. Rita repeatedly gets killed. Since Cage spends so much time with her, he slowly begins to fall in love with Rita. But the funny thing is, Rita has no such feelings for him, because she never remembers any previous loops. In her timeline, she has only known Cage for a few days. For Cage, however, it feels like much longer. Out of this love, every time Rita dies, Cage shoots himself to reset the loop again. After many attempts, Cage finally manages to save Rita from the battlefield. Together, they drive a car towards the dam, but on the way, a mimic attacks them. Since they are inside the car, operating their suits becomes difficult, but after a tough fight, they manage to kill the mimic. As the dam is still far away, their car eventually runs out of fuel and their suits lose battery. So they abandon both the car and the suits and continue on foot towards Omega's location. Eventually, they reach a house where a helicopter is stored. They go inside, searching for the keys. But by then, Rita is badly injured, so Cage gives her first aid and tells her to rest. Then he makes coffee for her, adding 2 spoons of sugar without asking. Seeing this, Rita realizes they have been here many times before, and that Cage already knows the keys are with him. Furious, she demands the helicopter keys directly. Cage hands them over, and she heads outside towards the helicopter. At that moment, Cage tells her, "You must not go to the helicopter. Every time we've tried, mimics attack and kill you as soon as you start it. We've attempted this countless times, and every single time you died. That's why, in my opinion, you should not take even one more step from here." Hearing this, Rita gets angry, starts the helicopter anyway, and, just as Cage said, mimics immediately appear and kill her. Next time, when Cage wakes up, he decides not to include Rita in the mission anymore, because her repeated death is breaking him inside. This time, Cage sets out alone to kill the Omega. He fights through the battlefield, steals the helicopter, and heads straight to the dam, the place where he saw Omega in his dream. But after searching everywhere, Cage finds no Omega. Instead, an Alpha appears. Suddenly, Cage realizes the truth. Omega had shown him that false vision just to trick him into coming, so it could drain the Alpha blood from his body. By now, Omega already knows Cage is carrying Alpha's blood. Realizing this, Cage kills himself by drowning before the Alpha can attack, in order to reset the loop again. When Cage revives once more, he explains everything to Rita and the scientist. The scientist says, "I have built a device. If we attach it to a living Alpha, we can directly find Omega's location. But where will we find a living Alpha?" Hearing this, Rita adds, "Even if we don't have a living Alpha, since Cage still has Alpha's blood inside him, if we use the device on him, we can still locate Omega." But there's a big problem. That strange device is no longer with the scientist. It is now in the Colonel's possession. Everyone knows the Colonel will never hand it over, since he doesn't even know what it is. So they decide to steal it from him at any cost. Following this plan, they go to the Colonel. After tricking him, they manage to take the device. But as they escape, the Colonel's soldiers repeatedly kill them. In one attempt, during their getaway in a car, Cage finally manages to press the device onto himself. Immediately, he sees Omega's real location, under the Louvre Museum in France. But on the way, their car is attacked, and both Cage and Rita are gravely injured. They fall unconscious. When Cage wakes up, he finds himself in a hospital, receiving a blood transfusion. At that moment, Rita arrives and prepares to kill him to reset the loop. But Cage stops her, explaining that he can no longer reset, because the blood transfusion has removed all Alpha blood from his body. Hearing this, both of them fall into despair, because now, if they die even once, all their efforts will be wasted. For the first time, Cage feels real fear. Soon after, they leave the hospital and seek help from the soldiers Cage used to fight with. At first, the soldiers refuse, since they never believed Cage before. But when Rita supports him, they agree to join, because Rita is their idol. Then together, they fly on a plane towards the Louvre Museum. But this time, clear fear is visible on both Rita and Cage's faces. As they near the museum, countless mimics attack their plane. A fierce battle begins between soldiers and mimics. One by one, all the soldiers sacrifice themselves so that Rita and Cage can enter the museum. Inside, heavily injured, they finally reach Omega, lying underwater. Guarding it is an Alpha. At this moment, Cage tells Rita, "I will distract the Alpha. When it comes after me, you jump into the water and kill Omega." But Rita refuses, saying Cage's leg is too injured for him to run. So instead, she decides to distract the Alpha herself. She hands Cage a bomb and orders him to kill Omega. Before running, Rita kisses Cage. Then she dashes forward, drawing the Alpha with her. Taking this chance, Cage dives into the water with the bomb. Soon, he hears a terrible sound and realizes the Alpha has already killed Rita. Controlling his emotions, he continues deeper underwater. As Cage approaches Omega, the Alpha attacks him fiercely. Just before dying, Cage throws all his bombs at Omega. The explosion tears Omega's body apart completely. Its blood flows into Cage's body, and once again he is revived. But this time, instead of returning to yesterday, he wakes up 2 days earlier, back when he was about to meet the Colonel in his office. At that moment, through the news, Cage learns that after the explosion at the Louvre Museum, all mimics around the world have suddenly died. Humanity no longer needs to fight. Hearing this, Cage feels overwhelming relief. He first goes to the army camp where he had kept reviving again and again. This time, however, he arrives as a major, since the war is already over. He sees the same soldiers training, the ones who had helped him reach the museum. Luckily, now they are all alive. Finally, Cage goes to the place where he always met Rita. But once again, Rita does not recognize him. Still, seeing her alive and well fills Cage with joy. And with this beautiful scene, the movie comes to an end. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. See you in the next one. Until then, stay well and stay safe.